Morning. It's me, Alicia, ready for our Rise of the False Gods book study tonight. I'm alone. Tishy must be off schedule because I was off schedule. I'm so sorry I was late tonight. What I was doing, adjusting here, what I was doing is today is homemade soup day. So I made some French onion soup, vegetarian, and it wound up just, I started late, I finished late, and I got so engrossed in it that all of a sudden I said, oh, it's 10 o'clock and I'm not doing this. So maybe Tishy's a little off with her schedule as well. She'll probably be out before we're done today. So if this is your first time joining me for Rise of the False Gods book study, it is on my book, Rise of the False Gods Transformation Through Illumination. You can find the videos from all the previous study nights on YouTube. So just type in Rise of the False Gods, Alicia Leslie, and bingo, you'll be able to see all the videos there. All righty then. Please know if you have any questions or comments. Questions and comments are welcome. I may not see them right away because my screen does not rotate them all the time, but I can answer them later. You can always feel free to ask the next night if you miss this night or private message me or something like that. So, shall we get started? We are already on page 184. We're moving right along. Tonight's going to be a short class, so I guess it doesn't matter that it's running late. And we're talking about from fatal attraction to faith filled action. And I will read. You remember, last night we talked about cleansing the temple, about getting all our error thoughts, negative thoughts cleaned out of our mind so we can build from there. Everything we've been leading up to has led up to taking apart, looking, and getting rid of things that are not for our highest good. And now we can start building and learning how to build on a strong foundation. What are we building? We're building our lives and the world we live in. Okay. Once the temple is clean and full of light, we want it to stay that way. When whatever undesirable thoughts, words, or habits are found in cleansing our temple, we can banish them from our domain. So when we find these negative habits, they got to be banished. They got to be kicked out, lock the door. I think we talked about it last night where it says in the Bible, once you if you clean a demon out of your house, lock the door because he is going to come back with his friends. That lock the door is a very important word. It's like we want to put up a guard so that we stop ourselves from going in a negative direction. I'll be talking about that more in just a minute. Last night I talked about it. Last night about walking home from the mailbox and being annoyed because there was no mail, and then that starting to lead to another thought and another thought, and I was in a crabby mood. So that's what we want to stop, is those negative thoughts from propagating and drawing like energy, which is what it does. Okay. It says constant upkeep is necessary. Isn't that true in the house? I can't figure it. I got my no dishes in the sink rule. So when I go to bed at night, I've had no, sink. They're in the drainer drying, but there's nothing dirty in the sink. And yet by the time I have lunch the next day, it's like, where'd this stuff all come from? It doesn't help that I like to cook. And So there. But it is a constant upkeep. And I think I told you my second habit I'm picking up is called the surface pickup before you go to bed. So as you walk from one end of the house to the other, you just kind of put things away, the things that start to build up on the counters and they got to be put away. And so that's another good habit I'm starting. Help me to not get that stuff building up. Worst thing I have build up, mail. There's these things I say, well, I think I might want to contribute to that charity, or I might want to read that cause, or I might, next thing you know, you got the stuff coming out of your ears. But I have done so much better over the years. And, you know, I try when I can, as I'm walking back from the mailbox, to stop at the dumpster where they keep the garbage and toss it right in there, or the recycle. If they're in the winter, we don't get recycle because it's a campground and nobody's here but me. So I don't have my recycle bins. So anyway, let's go back to that. It's very important to keep it up. So it's the same thing in our mind as it is in our house, okay, or our yard. Might I say dandelions? Just saying. Okay. So we eliminate anything that doesn't support our spiritual growth and the good of all creation. It's important to understand the compelling call of carnal mind, which is our human part, our ego part, our the part the in some traditions they call it the mind of the flesh, which is actually kind of like your brain and your physical being. Um, you see, we can't confuse the words mind and brain because they're two different things. The brain is like a vehicle or a tool of the mind. It is where we process the thoughts we receive from divine mind. So our brain is not the truth of our being. It is mind. All is mind. Okay. Um, which operates both in the appetites of the flesh and the survival instinct. I always use the chocolate cake, example. So I probably just used it. I'm going to use it again. You're sitting there watching TV, all is fine, kind of winding down for the night, and all of a sudden there's a chocolate cake. They're advertising. Either they're advertising to buy it from a bakery or whatever. That doggone chocolate cake is there. And you can see that thick, creamy chocolate icing. And it's gooey and it's shiny. And you can almost taste it. It's amazing. And then next thing you know, you got to find something chocolate, right? It can be anything. That can be the same thing with starting with an anger thought, that you get an anger thought and then you start to draw more anger thoughts. And like, let's say that your housemate, your husband, wife, whatever, um, left their clothes, their dirty clothes on the floor in the bathroom when they took their shower, and they left the cap off of the toothpaste. And so you're going around happy on your day, and then you walk into the bathroom and it's like, doggone it, clothes are on the floor again. Ah, the cap is off the toothpaste, and I hate it because he squeezes it in the middle of the tube and not at the end like you're supposed to. Next thing you know, you're thinking about anything that the poor person has ever done. And you really, by the time they walk in the door from work or with wherever they were, you're ready to not speak to them for a week. So that's how the thoughts collect. Same thing with spending money. There's all those tricks. Remember some of the tricks? Do you remember the rule of seven? Very important. When you're told it 7 times, you start to believe it. That's why they will have commercial after commercial after commercial, all the same thing. It's chiseling down into your consciousness to make you think you need whatever they are selling. And usually it's wants, not needs. Let's just think about that. Okay. Um, oh, and by the way, you know when I'm talking about the pictures of the food and they're juicy and fresh and silky looking and all that. Those are doctored. That's not the way they really look. I once had a neighbor who did. He was a food photographer, and he would talk about they'd put glycerin on it to make it do this, and they'd put some other kind of toxic stuff on there, and that wouldn't be a real slice of tomato in that sandwich. It's really plastic. That they would do all these things to make it look better than it is. And I'm going to be real honest with you about another thing. I can't tell you how often I have looked at, I don't know, a cake, a cupcake, pie, whatever, and I will say, oh, I got to get some of that. And then you get it, and it's not that good. Sometimes it's dry and too sugary or whatever. So when I am having one of those experiences where I saw something and I'm starting to literally lust after it because you start thinking, you salivate. Oh man, you see something really good. It's like, you know, I gotta have some of that. But I think about the times I had it and it wasn't that good, you know? So, and if you think about buying something, like I have, over the years, I am becoming a minimalist. So I have less and less stuff as I go along. And so when I think about buying something and bringing it into the house, it's like, wait a minute, do you really want that? Because do you have the room? If you don't have the room, there's the one in, one out rule. For everything you bring into the house, something's got to go out. It's a great way. And if you want to work on becoming a minimalist, for everything you bring in, two things go out. And what is a minimalist? That's where we stick to our basic needs and not go crazy with trinkets and stuff we have to dust and move. And my hardest thing to let go of is my books. And I tried earlier. I said I'd send a book. I'd say this is the book of the day. Anybody wanted it, and well, I didn't have a lot of takers. So I just said, well, you know what? The books will go to the library maybe in the spring when I can go out, when after I get my second COVID shot, and I'll be good. So okay, so you want to break that chain. See, it's a chain of one thought leads to another thought leads to another thought. If we think about this, about, okay, so delicately speaking, um, physical intimacy, okay? So what happens is when we start to have a thought of physical intimacy with someone, the same thoughts start collecting plus our hormonal system, and I'm sure that's what happens with the food and salivating too. Our hormones get kicking up, and then we feel a stronger and stronger yearning for being intimate with someone. Now, if that person, if you're married and that's not your mate, you don't want to have that. See, that's why in the Bible it says that if a person has even looked at a member of the opposite sex with lust in their eyes, they've already sinned. Now, we remember the word sin means error, and you say, like, that was my first mistake. So we think about it, we entertain the thought, and that's how we attract like thoughts, okay? We don't want to entertain no thoughts that are not for our highest good. And the faster we can get rid of that thought, the happier we'll be. I used to go shopping with my son's girlfriend, and when we lived in California, and we would go to the grocery store and we'd go by the bakery counter, which was really beautiful. But we would go by and we'd look, And we, oh, there's a salt patty. Oh, yes, and there's a tar patty. So we just pretended to ourselves they were something else. And so we didn't try it. So we were never disappointed. I think that's one of the worst things. You get all excited about something, you think it's going to be wonderful. Even if you buy, like I bought a radio the other day. I don't have a radio. And there's another thing. So if you want to break that chain of, you catch the thought and it leads to another thought and then you're ordering it. Another thing is having the 3-day rule. You have to really want it for 3 days. And that in the sales world, that is called a 3-day right of rescission. And that is for major purchases. That if you sign a contract for something, you've got 3 days. Read your paperwork carefully before you sign it. Make sure that's in there. But that's a consumer protection agency thing. At least it used to be. Hope it still is. But you would have 3 days to change your mind. So if you want something before you purchase it, it's going to be there in 3 days. Why do you think they tell you, oh, you got to get it now? They're selling out. They're not going to have another one like this. Oh, they're going to have another sale next week. So get off it. So try the 3 days before you buy it. So you get to cool off. You don't want to do anything in the heat of passion because that takes your mind totally into the physical. And remember that the physical brain and mind and hormonal system is like a gravitational pull. And the more we give in to the gravitational pull of the lower mind, the harder it is to lift ourselves up and get past it. Okay. Whew. I just went off on my own. What this says is the first thought attracted thoughts, like thoughts, supporting thoughts, and nucleated creative energy resulting in manifestation. That's what Charles Fillmore said is an idea. And then if you want to manifest, the idea starts to nucleate energy and you want to build on that energy, which attracts more energy and manifestation happens. So we have to ask ourselves every day, do we want to put that the propel nucleate that energy, or do we want to stop it and go somewhere else? Remember, God hates a void. We talked about that before. God hates a void. You want to, that was this afternoon. I'm sorry. That was with my Life on the Light Side video. They say that God hates a void. So if we get rid of something, we want to attract something we want. That's something for another whole day, but I'm not going to go there. Okay. Um, so the story about the cake or whatever is amusing because it's true. Uh, because we have to be able to laugh at ourselves, or if we take ourselves too seriously, we'll never get anywhere. But it was linking one thought to another, which binds our attention through the law of mind action. Some people like to use the word the law of attraction. We have to be very careful with the law of attraction because whereas by holding a thought in mind, we might manifest. And if we're having difficulty manifesting it, we may want to stop and ask ourselves, is this something we really want to manifest? Remember that thing about be careful what you ask for, you may get it. And the other thing is, are we trying to manifest or are we trying to manipulate? If you don't know anything about manipulating, I suggest you go to one of your TV channels, one of the things like TV Land, and watch I Love Lucy. Because Lucy was always busy trying to manipulate Ricky. Well, Lucy and Ethel were trying to manipulate Ricky and Fred. And manipulation, that's not real. Manifestation is lasting. Manipulation is not. We can think we manipulate, but we're only fooling ourselves. Okay. Um, okay, so I just was kind of going over what I just said here. If something stimulates anger, excuse me, chances are the experience will attract like thoughts and images and anger increase. I saw a cartoon once. It was very funny. It said, I know how to avoid temptation. And what was the answer? Give in. You don't want to go that way. Ignore it. The actual best way to overcome temptation is to remove its power by replacing the temptation thought with a good thought. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with God, with good. And God is good. And that was from Romans 12:21. So if we're having a thought, let's just look at the seven deadly sins. And why are they called deadly? Because they keep us from living our lives fully. So if we start out, one of them is sloth. It's laziness. Boy, is it hard to get past that one. Could that be why I did not make soup tonight until 8 o'clock? Because I kind of put it off, but I said, oh, no, no, I'm making that soup. Thank goodness my mind had done enough, generated enough energy that I kept thinking about that soup and I was going to make it now. Had a battle with my human self who said, oh, it's so late, you want to do the dishes. I won. Okay, I won. Um, so we want to remember not to, so we can go through all seven of the deadly sins and come up with how your mind, your human brain tries to, or your human self, your flesh as it were, tries to keep you from getting things done you want. So that's sloth, envy. Okay, sometimes we start thinking about something that someone else has, and then we start feeling bad at that they have everything and we don't have anything. And that is just a lot of hooey. So if we start thinking that way, I'm envious, they have everything, I have nothing, start counting your blessings and all the things that you do have. How about if that's like an assignment for tonight? Look up the seven deadly sins and see how each one is a way of your mind trying to uh, make you go the way of lower consciousness, and how can you turn that around to higher consciousness. Now, I'm not going to give you all the seven deadly sins. Gave you a couple. You can look them up. It's called Google, and you can find them in a hot minute. All right. So I kind of just basically went into uh, the different things about whenever you're having a negative, whenever the negativity is trying to come in, turn it around to positive. I did it with the soup tonight. I did it when I was coming home from the empty mailbox, and you can do it too. So tonight I want to show you something, and I'm hoping I can hold it in a way that you can see it. The next piece is called Raising the Bar. And, you've probably, played limbo where you go under the bar. That's lower consciousness. We keep lowering the bar and failing to rise up to our full potential. Now, on the other hand, if you do the high jump, they keep raising the bar. They don't expect you to go from 3 feet to 10 feet overnight. They raise the bar incrementally. And that's what we have to do in our lives. If we start expecting too much from ourselves all of a sudden, we are just going to feel like a failure and we're not going to go anywhere. So remember, in your life, raise the bar little by little. Now, here we have this is what we've talked about, the four quadrants of consciousness. And I'm trying to hold this, it's hard backwards, but you see we have the superconscious mind way at the top and the subconscious mind way at the bottom. those are the realm that are beyond where we normally are cognizant or aware. Yet we are aware and cognizant of the next levels. It is the spiritual mind, the higher mind. And on one side, it says intuitive, and the other side says sensing. So when we are in our higher mind, we intuitively um, we think intuitively, we get divine ideas, we get better ideas. Then if we look at the lower part, that's the carnal mind, it's the human mind, the lower mind. And that is where human thinking and thoughts and human feeling, which is emotion. So it's our lower feelings, our emotions, and our highest is sensing. Our lower mind is human thought, and our higher mind is intuitive. It's getting ideas from divine mind. So if you can look at it that we are in our higher consciousness, we are drawing our ideas from the super consciousness, which is the mind of God. And when we are in our lowest stages, we are drawing our thoughts from the subconscious. And the subconscious has all kinds of stuff that we don't know what it is. It's like a crazy file cabinet. And we have to remember all this too. Everything that we talked about tonight, it's on two levels. It is on individual and collective. So that's something to really think about, because we have collective karma the same way as we have individual. Ah, now there was an area I wanted to go into tonight, but I'm not gonna. It's a little too touchy. I try to stay. It's a little bit political, and I don't want to get political tonight. So I want to remain here, eternal optimist. So keep your mind high, stay high, get up in that spiritual consciousness, beat that tendency to have the gravitational pull of the lower. The lower is always easier, but it's always better to take the high road. You may struggle a little bit more, but you're going to go a lot farther. So tomorrow we are going. Oh, we're not. Tomorrow is Saturday, right? Tomorrow. Oh, is today Thursday or Friday? Hang on. I can't tell. My thing doesn't tell me. Maybe tomorrow's Friday. Okay, I will see you tomorrow, and we will be raising the bar to the next level. We'll see. Incremental. Join me, and we'll get incrementally a little higher tomorrow night. Till then, have a blessed and beautiful day. Bye bye.